Hello, everybody. Uh, sorry, something happened before the stream. It was pretty fun. I'm Brian. Hi, everybody. It's Sunday night, and as you can see, we have a guest this week again for the second time this week. On Tuesday, if you missed it, we had Stuart Mitchell talking about recruiting and all that. And today, as promised, we have Kevin Johnson from Secureideas, global OWASP member, and Mr. Betcher right there. Hey, Mr. Betcher, how you doing?
Good, good. Glad to be back.
Fantastic. Miss Berlin, it is roughly, I don't know, 5 a.m. or something on the East Coast. I don't get time zones or how that works.
5 a.m. She's a lightweight.
No, she's got some some family things, and she's recovering from a tattoo of some note that she's working on. So she's not going to be able to join us tonight. But
just for the record, that's my fault because I moved the stream and out. I wasn't able to make it at the original time.
No, that's okay. We like to be flexible whenever possible, but we don't we try to work around everybody's schedule, but sometimes it doesn't always align that way. So, yeah. But we do miss her and want her to be back very soon. So, so a little bit of history here for those of you who are longtime listeners of the show and the stream. Kevin was, I think, our first ever interview. I think we did Frank Kim and Kevin Johnson at the Sans AppSec conference back in 2014. And then 2 weeks later, I moved to Seattle. And Mr. Betcher and I took the GWAP course from this guy named Kevin Johnson, who was teaching at,
that was in Austin.
That was in Austin.
Remember that.
It was in Austin.
That's right.
Yeah. I'll actually be in Austin at the OWASP chapter meeting next month.
Oh, very good.
Yeah,
very
good.
It's
next month.
Okay.
So,
all right.
I'm going to fly in, present. I don't know what I'm going to present about, probably AppSec. And I love Austin. It's not San Diego, but nothing San Diego. So.
That's okay. Yeah. So also, because he's the CEO of Secureideas and the global OWASP member at large, and he's keynoting at B-Side San Diego. I was actually I'm gooning for them this year. I'm doing security, and they were like, "Oh yeah, we can't tell you about the person," but somebody on the side was like, "Yeah, Kevin Johnson. Do you know him?" I was like, "Yeah, I have a passing familiarity with the gentleman.
I've known him for a while."
Yeah, a little bit.
Why wouldn't they tell you who the keynote was?
I think they hadn't locked you down yet, and they were trying to see if they could get make sure that you were good to go before somebody said, "Oh, hey, look, K Joe's going to be here, and we don't want to, and then something happened, and your schedules couldn't align." So, but yeah, it was definitely like that. So, and then about the time I reached out to you and said, "I know where you're going to be," they were like, "Oh, yes, okay, we can now announce it." And I was like, "Yes,
we're now."
Yeah.
I'm actually really excited. I love San Diego is my favorite city in the United States, and I love going out there and hanging out, and so I'm excited to be there this year. And then my understanding is one of my guys is also speaking, Eric King.
Oh, okay. I haven't had a chance to look at all the speakers yet. I'm gooning, so I probably won't get to see any of the talks. But
that is the problem with being security.
That's okay. I find I go to conferences now just to talk to people and not necessarily see the speakers. So yeah, it's good because it gives other people the opportunity to go and do something. So, and plus we're a proud sponsor. BreakSec is a proud sponsor of B-Side San Diego this year. We're a bronze sponsor. So yeah,
nice, very nice.
Giving away all of our tickets and had to buy 7 more for a cybersecurity club that needed them out of 10. So. The badges are badass. By the way, if you get a badge, it's going to be very cool. So
if you're a badge life person, isn't that what it is? Badge life?
Yeah, badge life. Yeah, I mean, I've seen the prototypes of them, and it's very. I mean, you'll get one. You can go battle people with it, and it's got NFC and some stuff on it. Somerset Recon did a real bang up job on these this year, so it's fantastic. So
something
full disclosure,
luggage and have TSA get mad.
Oh. Yeah, I can mail it back for you if if you
I
if you think there
appreciate
might
that.
be some
I
problem.
actually prefer to piss off TSA. I go out of my way to make TSA angry. You know what TSA stands for, don't you?
Totally. No, I have no idea.
Thousands standing around.
Ah, okay, okay.
Yeah.
So it's like the TPS reports. Yeah, totally
Yes,
pointless
yes.
shit. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, totally pointless
Cool.
shit.
Yeah, very cool. So before we get started, full disclosure, I have not only known Kevin personally for about 10 years. I've also worked with him professionally on a professional basis, and have engaged him out for official work. So,
I can
we're
neither
not gonna.
confirm nor deny that.
Yeah, well, I don't
appreciate
advertise who I
you
work
can,
for, so it's
but yeah,
okay.
yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, just as a full disclosure there. So, also I would invite, if you're here on the stream or here on the YouTube channel watching this, please ask questions as we go along. We'll be talking about all kinds of things. So, just be mindful of the content we're talking about, and don't bring out something completely out of left field. So, Kevin, for those
that
people,
left field thing is interesting.
well, yeah. I mean,
Yeah.
that makes sense. I mean, but yeah, don't start asking about nuclear physics or something, because
Yeah, I don't know anything about that.
Yeah, me neither. So for the masses that don't know necessarily who you are, potentially, tell people a little bit about yourself.
I'm a nerd. And
It goes without saying.
yeah, I mean, yeah, if I was in my office at the main office, there would be a 7'5" Chewbacca costume on a mannequin
Nice.
behind that I built. So probably the nerdiest background you could probably do. I mean, it's pretty simple, man. I've been involved in IT way too damn long because I'm old. I turned 51 last month, and
Dang.
started professionally in 1991, graduated high school, got a job writing code. Should scare the crud out of you. The code I was writing was to help control the power grid. And yeah, let's just say that code may or may not still be running parts of the power grid.
That's what I was going to ask. It's still deployed today.
Yeah. And I'm not that smart now. I was really dumb at 18. So I graduated high school, got a job. One thing led to another. I was doing development. I was actually running a bulletin board system back then. To show my age, I was also running the Lantastic network by Artisoft, which was a competitor for Novell. My career went from networks to admin to development to admin to development to whatever. Back in, I want to say 2003, I got involved with open source. I forked the ACID project to a project called Base because I thought that was a funny chemistry joke, which was a web interface for Snort, and have done one thing or another involved in security for a long time. Accidentally started a penetration testing company in 2010, Secureideas. Still run Secureideas. I'm the CEO, which is really just code for head nerd. I'm an IONS faculty member, and in October 31st was when they announced it. I was elected to the global board for OWASP.
Right on.
I do not have an officer position, so I'm called a member at large, which I'm a little upset about because I've lost 40 pounds, so I prefer not to be called a member at large.
Member at medium.
Yeah, member at medium, something like
Smedium.
that.
Yeah, Smedium.
Smedium, that's it.
Yeah, Smedium.
Yeah. And I started my tenure term, I guess is the right word, in January. Actually got back from the board summit where they flew all the board members and the executive director into New York City for us to meet for 3 days, which was kind of fun. Talking strategy, what do we want to do, what do we want to accomplish, that kind of stuff for the year. So nice. I think that's it in a nutshell. I'm the project lead for Samurai WTF, and as you mentioned earlier, I used to teach for SANS. I taught for SANS and wrote courses for them on web app pen testing, mobile security, a variety of other things. Resigned from SANS 2014.
Yeah. Yep.
It's actually funny. You all mentioned that you took the course from me in Austin. Austin was my last SANS course.
Yeah, I remember that. I remember you telling us that during the
Yeah.
interviews that didn't make it on the interview, but yeah, it was like, yeah,
Yeah.
you were done at that time. So yeah.
Yeah. I quit the evening of day 5 and went and taught day 6 and finished up. Had a few people say, "Oh man, I've already told my boss to send people to take a class from you in Orlando," and I'm like, "Well, I won't be there." And so,
Whoops.
yeah, I teach for anti-siphon now through Secureideas. We do a lot of training. We do private training, public training, things like that. The main purpose of our training is to teach as many people as possible. I'm a very firm believer, luckily my business partner, Jason, is also, that our job is to share knowledge with as many people as we possibly can. So all of our courses are done through the Pay What You Can program with Anti-Siphon. So, and
Right.
Pay What You Can also includes free if you can't pay anything, don't want to pay anything, whatever.
Right.
Yeah, that's it. I think that's enough babble about Kevin.
Cool. Okay. Okay. So I guess the first question, because I have it at the top of the board here, why did you feel the need to run for OWASP? What was driving what was driving
I
that?
I don't have enough things in my life, running a company, have kids, middle of a divorce, whatever, hobbies, open source things. Might as well add being a board member at OWASP. So
Right.
why not? Right. No, the reality is, I believe very firmly in the mission of OWASP. I have put my money where my mouth is, and as you know, my mouth is pretty big. I rant all the time. I think it is horrible that OWASP, an organization that is known worldwide, it is referenced in laws and regulations and contracts. PCI DSS requires developers be trained on security to the OWASP standard, right? It is the de facto standard for AppSec. They have less than 7,000 paid members.
Right.
It's public.
Worldwide.
Worldwide.
Huh.
7,000 paid members. They do not have very many, relatively many corporate supporters. We just lost 2 flagship projects last year. There was a fallout in the board where 2 people, one was resigned, one was forced out. And I believe very firmly, there was an open letter that was generated by a number of project teams. I believe very firmly that OWASP is amazing and is capable of accomplishing tons and tons of things. And I also believe that in some ways it's going in the wrong direction, right? So I ran on a platform of building, funding, membership, bringing people into OWASP numbers, figuring out the best benefits for people at OWASP, right? One of the limiting factors for benefits, I guess, is a way to phrase that, is that everything at OWASP is free, right? It's open. If you want to read the top 10, it's available. Any of the top 10s are available. It's not like you get the bottom 5, and if you're a paid member, you get the top 5, right? Everything is open, everything is free, everything is available, and that's the way it should be. Should be as transparent as possible. That's part of that mission. And so when you say to people, "Hey, man, here's this great idea. You should be a member of this organization." It's $50 a month, $500 for a lifetime membership. I just happen to know that off the top of my head. That's not a sales pitch. The question often gets asked, why should I pay $50? Why should I pay? Look, let me be clear. I'm gonna brag a little bit, right? I am a lifetime member. I've been a lifetime member for years. I also am a corporate supporter through my company, and I pay for every single one of my employees to have a membership, period.
Huh.
Right? And the
Okay.
reason for that is because I believe in the mission. But saying, "Hey, dude, you want to sign up?" And you say, "Why?" Because it's awesome. Why? Because it's worth it. Why? Because we should support it. Why? Right? So the goal is to try to figure out how to make membership worthwhile. And bluntly, I'd like to really focus on corporate supporters to move the funding needle. Getting $50 from Brian doesn't move the needle,
Right.
right? Getting an organization to pay $1 million or $20 million, donate $1 billion, whatever, that moves the needle. And the problem is you have to do that without ruining the vendor neutrality that OWASP is famous for, right? You can't say Acme widget company, hand us $1 million and we'll let you make rules for OWASP, right? Or something like that. So that's why I ran. I don't know if I'm smart enough to do it. I don't know if I'm capable enough to do it. I will say that we've got a great board that are dedicated to the success of OWASP. So that's good. I was a little, I'll be blunt. I was a little worried about it, right? You come in, it's a whole bunch of volunteers. You've got the risk of all of us being idiots, or you have the risk. There's quite often, you all know this, right? Richard Stallman like people, right? Where it's
Right.
It's got to be free and open, and you can't get money, and you can't do anything that even looks commercial or whatever, and that would make things very hard.
Right. Right.
Yeah, that's why I ran. I want to make it better.
Okay. Okay. Can you said anybody can be an OWASP member?
Yeah.
That's it. It's just like you could just sign. Anybody can sign up. My thing is I don't know where I would fit in the membership. Is it like I guess the question is what am I getting out of it? But I'm supporting an organization, but it's like
what you get out of it, there are member benefits, right? You get now this is the most exciting benefit. You get an email address, because I know that's hard for you to get. But there are organizations that offer benefits. If you're a member, you get a discount or free seat in the service or training or whatever. There are benefits like that. Bluntly, the main reason you pay the $50 is to support the mission, right? That $50 goes to helping chapters run, helping projects do things, right?
right.
It also, I feel like it's the right thing to do. What blows my mind is the sheer number of organizations and people that make use of the OWASP stuffs every day in their job, every day in their workload, yet don't give back to that organization. And the budget's open. I mean, we just went through the budget. There isn't a ton of money spent on stupid stuff, right? Like you always hear about these charities, because they are a nonprofit charity. You always hear about these charities where it's like, yeah, we raised $1 billion last year and we gave 750 million to the CEO. And right, like
Right.
that's awesome, jackass. Right. OWASP does good things with the money, right?
Right.
And being a board member, do you know if like vulnerability scanning companies who reference OWASP, they have links to OWASP in their plugins? You got a vulnerability, you need information on it, go to OWASP,
Yep.
right there. They use it all the time, every day. They've been doing it for 20 years.
And
they give back.
How many of them are corporate sponsors?
Yeah.
Or corporate supporters, or whatever the word is. Right. That's a good question, right? And I will point out that the corporate supporter list is public.
Ah,
right?
Okay.
I'm trying to find it. I'm in another window typing away, right? And
yeah.
So I mean, you've just described open source in a pinch. I mean, it's like,
Look,
they
man,
take advantage of free stuff all the time and they never get back. Or
it's one of the biggest benefits and problems with open source license, right?
Yep.
If you follow the license and the license allows it, you can commercialize it and never give it back. Right. I personally find that to be unethical and immoral, and I, bluntly would like to see most of the organizations that do that get set on fire. But I'm not a nice person, right? It is absolutely, as an open source project lead, I've run a number of open source projects. I'm running, ones now. I currently have code on my computer that's ready to be committed to GitHub to release another open source project that I'm not going to talk about right now. But I hope to release it at GERCON later this year.
Okay.
Yeah. So as an open source project lead, the vast majority of stuff you do is by yourself without support. And the majority of the interactions you have with the public that use your system are the people who complain about it.
Oh, sure. Yeah. They never tell you if anything's going right. It's always,
no, this is broken or whatever, right? Or why doesn't it do this? It's not supposed to do that, right? Like, there's this great idea, do a pull request. And, right? The vast majority of open source projects are run because somebody wants to run.
Right. Right.
It's not, I've had people say to me, well, you only do that for fame. It's like, well, geez, man, if this is famous, we have issues. Right. Or my favorite is the sheer amount of money I get paid for running open source stuff.
Right.
I've been paid nothing for running open source stuff. As a matter of fact, back when I ran base, I had somebody donate money to the project. Like I got this email from this guy and he's like, hey, how can I send you cash? I want to give you some money. And I'm like, I don't know. I've never thought about taking money for this. I don't think I need to take money. Whatever. And I asked my accountant, like, hey, I told this guy no, but like, what would have happened if I had taken this money? My accountant blew up at me. He's like, do you know how much tax problems you would have if you started taking random money? And I'm like, but they want to donate it. And it's like, you're not a charity. Like, okay, yeah, that's valid. We don't run open source projects because we want to be famous or rich. The vast majority of people who run open source projects because they had a problem they wanted to solve. Nobody else was solving it the way they needed it solved, and so they released it.
Yeah.
Period. Right.
Yep.
That's base. When I started base, I think it's a good example. I was reading an O'Reilly book, Snort and Other IDS Tools. Oh my goodness, I cannot believe I remember the title of the book. And ACID was the web interface for Snort at the time. And the book said something along the lines, I'm fake quoting a book because I don't have it in front of me and I don't remember. It was a long time ago, 20 plus years ago. The book said something like, even though it hasn't been updated in a while, ACID is still the most popular front end for. And I was like, oh my goodness, I found an error in an O'Reilly book. Because there's no way I'd be running software on my network that was out of date, right? I'm a security person. I take this seriously. Sure enough, ACID had not been updated in a while. So I reached out to the author of it, Roman Danilau. I don't know if that's how you pronounce his name, but that's how I read it. And offered to help, didn't get a response, offered to help again, didn't get a response. Wrote him a few times, finally just said, fuck it, and forked the project. So I forked it because nobody was updating, and I needed to use it, and it grew from there. Samurai WTF. I released Samurai WTF because I was bored one weekend and had nothing better to do, so I built a live CD. It's grown from that, right? And when we build stuff into it, Jason, Mick, and I, and Tim, and whoever, almost always it's because we're trying to solve a problem that we have or that people we know have, and we go from there. OWASP is the same way, right? People do stuff in OWASP because they have a problem or they see a problem and they want to solve it.
Nice. Bill, the real ONSI, had asked about
Hey, Bill.
donations. So I put a link on there to the membership. Apparently, you have a donate link on the membership page in case you don't want to be a member, and you still
want to donate money. Yeah.
Right.
Bill, did you say ONCE? ONCEE?
Yeah.
That's Bill. He runs the cyber program at Marshall University. Oh,
Yes, he does.
damn. Is it a good program? I was just out there for I am blanking on the name, AIDE, AIDE, the AIDE conference. Went out there for that. Got to hang out with some really fun people. Bill being one of them. Josh Marpet, who's just friggin' awesome. Alex Hammerstone, Mick Douglas, great people. Of course, Brittany, who works for Secureideas, went out with us to the conference and just had that was a really fun conference.
Nice.
I recommend it when it comes around next year.
There you go. Yeah, I'm putting mad links in as we go along. So
Mad links, okay, yeah.
I just put up the AID 2024. So, Bill, you might want to check the SamuraiWTF.org site that I posted up above in the chat because that did come up. But yeah, so yeah, there's a big link on samurai-wtf.org. Download VM. So there you go.
Yep.
Lather, rinse, repeat. Cool. So, OWASP good. That's what I'm hearing. They do more than just the OWASP, top 10 for web app stuff.
God. It bothers me sometimes that the top 10 is what most people know. And don't get me wrong, the top 10 the top 10, because understand there's more than one. Right? You get the LLM top 10, you get the API top 10, you got all that.
Yeah.
But the top 10s, I'm a very firm believer in, and I want to be clear, I'm speaking from Kevin's opinion. This is not a board opinion, this is Kevin's opinion. I believe that top 10s are great, but they're only great if they're supported by a collection of other projects that build out what you need. So for example, when you look at the AppSec top 10, right? The primary one that everybody knows, the top 10 application security vulnerabilities. Andrew Vanderstock is the project lead of that. He's also the executive director of OWASP. It's great. It works. It's built upon real data. But the reason it works as well as it does is because you have so many other projects that support it, right? You have the application security verification standards, you've got tooling, you've got testing guides, you've got, right? So by having this ecosystem of projects and then the top 10 becoming a penultimate project, I guess is a way to phrase that, right? It builds out this really nice, fully fleshed system for anybody who's interested in that topic to have something they can dip their toe in, right?
Right.
You come in, you're interested in the top 10, but then you get more information on the security verification standard, right? Or you go there and you go and build out tooling or threat models and whatever, because the top 10 itself, a top 10 does not stand alone, right? If all you have is a top 10, that's great. You've given people the top 10 vulnerabilities, whatever, right?
Right.
If you don't give them any of the other supporting documentation, the supporting tooling, the supporting systems, all that kind of stuff, you failed them.
Right. So we have a lot of top 10 lists. You have your LLM one that is like brand new. If you're learning about large language models or AI, go check that one out. You have of course, the web app top 10. There's the API top 10. And so there's been some, I don't want to say criticism, but the biggest thing that I've seen or heard is that these are not developer focused. They're security focused, and then security people are forced to have to go find CWEs or something that match them. I think that's gotten better in the past few years. What is it's easy to throw a developer the OWASP top 10 and say, oh, here's how here's
No,
the
don't
fix
do
these
that.
things.
Don't do
But
that.
I said it's easy
Yeah.
to. I didn't say
Yes,
you should.
yes.
But
Yeah.
I mean, so what are we to get from that? Is it based on trends? Is it how does that get built? I mean, now that you've got the inside secret sauce, does it get built
Well,
based
okay,
on
but
surveys? Because we know
let me be
surveys are
very clear.
notoriously
It's
bad.
not secret sauce. Everything at OWASP is public, right? So let's talk about the AppSec top 10. The application security top 10. They put out a call for paper. As a matter of fact, I believe the call for data just went out. Not call for papers, call for data. I believe it just went out for the next version. And what they ask is, they've got a format that they ask you to provide the data. And that format is machine generatable, I guess is the right way to phrase that. So you can actually export stuff from various tooling that you're using, what have you, to do it. And then that data is then submitted up to the top 10 project. And the project team does statistics and magic to build out what becomes the top 10. So the top 10 is, if done correctly, the top 10 is done based on public data from a large variety of sources. When we have issues, like for example, 2 or 3 top 10 versions ago, the very large amount of data came from Veracode, right? And the top 10 team, and I don't know how they did it because I didn't dig into it far enough, but they claim that they accounted for data skew that way. They knew they got a lot of data from one system. That one system was an automated code system, it was Veracode. And that they accounted for that skew when they came up with the top 10, right? I'm not smart enough to understand math, so, whatever. But that's the way it's supposed to happen. There are top 10s that have gotten through into the approval process that top 10 is based on somebody's opinion. OWASP in general, not we the board, but OWASP in general is attempting to fix that, right? Because a top 10 because Joe thinks those are the top 10 things is probably not useful to very many people.
Right.
Jumping back to what you said about it's easy to give it to a developer and say, here's the top 10, right? I'm trying to remember who it was that did a talk. It was absolutely hilarious and true. I was owned by the OWASP top 11, right? Like, if you take the top 10, whichever top 10 it is, and you hand it to a developer and say, go fix, right?
Right.
You're an idiot. Or you want to be an idiot, right? That's not what the top 10 is for. The top 10 is for education. The top 10 is for awareness. The top 10 is for building out a better understanding of where maybe you should focus if you're not sure where you should focus, right? That's why I say, and I say it all the time, that the top 10 of a specific topic is really the penultimate project for that topic. It shouldn't be the first thing built.
Right.
If we're getting into a new thing, let's say that tomorrow we decide to support HTTP 5.0. We're going to skip all the way to HTTP 5, right? I would not want to see an HTTP 5 top 10 as the first project that came out for that. I would want to see a secure coding guide for HTTP 5. I would want to see an application security verification standard section on HTTP 5. I would want to see tool support for HTTP 5. And then as we build out those things, then going and building that top 10 for HTTP 5 makes sense, right? And if you're just so die hard, I gotta build a top 5 or top 10. So I swapped into the 5. Build a cheat sheet. Build a cheat sheet, submit it to the cheat sheet project as a pull request, and bring that in. That's an awesome first project in a topic, right? Hey, and by the way, if you're familiar enough with the topic to honestly believe that you could build a top 10 for it, then building a cheat sheet should be trivial, right? Hey, if you're approaching this, here's some tips and tricks and whatever to deal with it. That just makes sense. in my mind. Again,
Right.
this is Kevin's opinion, not the board's. This is Kevin, right? And I have opinions. I had opinions for years.
Nice. Yeah, yeah. I mean, I understand the point of it. I mean, it just seems like every time a new OWASP top 10 comes out, there's wailing and gnashing of teeth, and media's talking about it, and then people latch onto it, or they'll use it as a way of as a maturity model or something like that. How well are you stacking up against protections against that? One of our listeners or our watchers right now is asking about could OWASP eventually become a full-fledged threat intel platform, or are you leveraging LLM, or maybe the new concierge thing that you and
No.
Mick were talking about the other day, or that kind of thing?
Oh man, concierge looks awesome. Mick's
I know.
team, some really cool shit there. Neither here nor there. Could OWASP become a threat modeling platform? The answer to that is no. And the reason the answer is no is that is such a narrow focus of what something is. It misses the entire point of what OWASP should be. OWASP is a organization that supports all efforts to build secure software, period. That's what they're for, right? Could a threat modeling platform open source their platform and push it out there? Yeah, I don't see why not. Could they submit to be an OWASP approved project? Yeah, absolutely, right? And that would go through the project committee, and the project committee would determine whether or not it made sense. But to change OWASP into a threat modeling platform is really not the direction that something like that could go into. I'm not even sure how you would go about it.
I seem to remember.
Go ahead.
Sorry, I seem to remember OWASP coming up in was it an ISO audit, some sort of maybe a SOC 2 audit? Like, do you adhere to the ISO standards? I'm going, do they mean, do we look at the top 10? I was trying to figure out what that actually meant.
I can't tell you what it means because it's an asinine sentence. That is such a common thing that we see. I mean, let me be clear, right? How many times have you seen? It was mentioned earlier. We're a DAST scanner tool, and we test for the entire OWASP top 10. And it's like, really, you do? How do you test for the insufficient logging and monitoring from an automated tool? Right, like just that's when you ever want to watch a vendor squirm, which I love. Like, let me be clear: if somebody would pay me just to spend all day fucking with vendors, I would be happy, right? Like, that would be awesome. That would be the world's best job. What do you do? Well, today I'm fucking with, and I would mention a vendor, right? Whoever. Check marks. Don't buy check marks. Don't ever buy check marks. If you ever get a phone call from a check mark salesperson, invite them to coffee. When they show up, punch them in the throat. And that's the only good thing with a check marks system is to give you an opportunity to punch their people in the throat.
I'd like to take this moment to thank our sponsor Checkmarks today for.
Look, let's be clear. That doesn't hurt my feelings at all. Years ago, I was keynoting ShowMeCon. That's where I'm going to be. ShowMeCon. But remember I said there was another one that I was going to? It was ShowMeCon. And I was keynoting ShowMeCon. I started my keynote, don't buy check marks. I ended my keynote, don't buy check marks. Got off the stage and found out they were the platinum sponsor of the show. And and I actually said to Dave Cronster, who runs it. Dave's a great guy, awesome guy, love him to death. And he's like, "Did you know they were our platinum sponsor?" Or whatever it's called, right? But you know what I mean. And I'm like, no. And he's like, oh, so you wouldn't have done that if you had known? I'm like, no, I totally would have done it. I just would have also called out that they were a platinum sponsor. And I would have, instead of saying don't buy check marks, I would have said don't buy the platinum sponsor check marks product. And so,
nice.
Very nice. The sales guy that was there was actually vibrating. He was so angry at me, and all he could get out was, why did you say that? And I said, because I told your head of sales I would say that every time I was on stage. And I don't lie, unlike your product. And so he continued to vibrate. is
Nice.
really the only way to
Nice.
describe it.
Nice.
So
We've talked about SANS. We've talked about anti-siphon, the pay what you will model, which is very popular with people.
pay what you will. I've never heard it called that.
PYWY, pay what you pay. Oh, pay what you can, pay what you. Yeah, I think that's what.
I mean, pay what you will works as well. I just hadn't heard it
Right.
phrased that way.
Yeah.
Pay what you can.
Yeah. So we see, Black Hills is doing some stuff now. The idea is to, try to train as many people who want that training as they can.
Yeah.
We've talked with folks like Ms. Bat, who's been doing help with, hiring folks. Like I said, we had Stuart Mitchell on this week talking about how, hiring works with recruiters, finding unicorns and that kind of stuff. And one of the things that I was wanting to ask you about was your team does training, but a lot of people are about to sign up for $5,000-$6,000 trainings at Black Hat, and they go to your anti-siphon training and they teach there, and it's like, oh, Age of Music, you pay $0. And the problem is you take this training, and ideally you want to put it on your resume somewhere, because ideally you're upskilling in some way. The problem that we're going to have is if it doesn't come from an ISO 14,000 or whatever accredited university or something like that, is it really going to mean anything to somebody on their resume? So what I'm trying to figure out is, at what point will anti-siphon or will, Black Hills Security,
To be clear, Black Hills and Anti-Siphon are the same company.
Oh, my bad.
Dawn Strand started Anti-Siphon.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so my bad there.
Okay. I guess the question is, if I may, the question is, at what point, when you go in front of HR and you say, I took the professional evil application security class through Anti-Siphon from Secureideas, I'm awesome. At what point does that matter compared to being able to say, and I can't believe I'm going to say this, I took the CEH, because, the plagiarizing lying company EC Council has done a really good job. They probably plagiarized this too, at getting HR companies and getting the government through 8570, which isn't called 8570 anymore, but I don't ever remember the new number, to get that listed as a certification that would go. When does Anti-Siphon meet that? And my answer is now. If you're interviewing at an organization that understands security, they understand what Anti-Siphon is doing, and they understand the quality of it. Now, I'm biased. I teach for Anti-Siphon through Secureideas, right? But we are already seeing way more HR groups understanding what that type of training means. And mainly because, I won't name any companies like, without a name. So
rhymes with pans, rhymes with.
It's SANS. I got no problem saying SANS out loud. I just always love the fact that SANS means without. But because like your name is SANS Security, that just seems like a bad choice. And I was an author and instructor there, right? Like, so look, man, we're not good at naming shit, right? But you get to a point where $10,000 for a course, which is what it's going for now. If you look at the cost of the certification and the recording and everything else, last time I looked online, you're looking at almost 10K, if not 10K, right? That is out of the reach of the vast majority of the people that need to be trained. Right. And because of that, organizations like Anti-Siphon have come up, built something, and people are taking the training. And because people are taking the training, HR groups are aware of it now.
That's good.
We absolutely have to solve the certification problem. I'm not going to get into OpenSBK because it's not public yet, but we're working on it, which is the open security body of knowledge. It's a project I've been working on for a while. It's near and dear to my heart. Building out certifications for this stuff is something that has to be done. The issue is that when you start to get into psychometrics and everything else necessary to build an effective certification, because look, we don't want to be EC Council. We don't want to be just, boop, boop, you're stamped, right? We want to build something that stands the test of time, that actually qualifies somebody for a job, right? To do that effectively costs money.
Right.
The issue is that then again brings the cost out of the hands of people who need it.
Right.
Right. So figuring out a way to build out a certification arm, which I'm working on it, and I think I'm going to succeed, but I'm optimistic, right? I got some good people working with me. We've got really, really smart people working on this. Brittany, I mentioned her earlier, right? She's up with us at Secureideas. She is one of the smartest people I know. She's actually really cool. She trained to be a pen tester and then got into sales, right? Which is interesting because normally when you talk to a salesperson, you know as well as I do, right? Like, oh yeah, you know what pen testing is. Sure, go away. Let me talk to a technician, right? She's helping pull together a really big team of people to build this out, which is kind of cool. The fear is that the cost of doing it then turns you into something like ISC squared or GIAC, where
Right.
the goal becomes money. And don't get me wrong, I'm a greedy capitalist, right? I want to be so rich. The Occupy movement protests in my apartment complex, right? And I'm okay with that. I'd like to be able to afford whatever I want. But what I don't want to do is turn an organization into something money driven to the detriment of what they're trying to do. And bluntly, and I know this is going to piss off somebody and whatever, fuck it. I think that's where SANS is. I think it's where EC Council is. I think it's where IC Squared is, right? These are organizations, except for EC Council, that never tried to do good. These are organizations that started with a good mission. Alan Paller, who is one of the men that I will always look up to and respect. God rest his soul, right? He, working with smart people, tried to build something that, would make money. Don't get me wrong. I got no problem with people making money, right? They tried to build something that could get training out to people, teach people. It used to be when I was there, and I'm not saying it's not the rule anymore, but I don't see signs that it's the rule anymore. It used to be the rule you were not allowed to be a full-time instructor. Right? You could not just teach. You had to do what you were teaching, right? We're not seeing that as much anymore in organizations. And I'm not trying to pick on anybody. I'm not trying to badmouth anybody. I think people do, let me rephrase that. I am trying to badmouth people. There's lots of people I'd like to badmouth. Let's talk about Craig Wright, right? Who is not Satoshi, according to courts, which is awesome. Fuck that guy. He's a liar plagiarizer. But can you tell that I have a thing about people lying? Right? But we have to build something. Bluntly, I think what we're gonna have to do is go down the route of licensing.
Interesting, because I think we talked about this 10 years ago during our first conversation.
I was against it. Absolutely against it. Yeah, I got no problem admitting my mind has changed. Here's why I think we have to go down that route. I don't know that we do, but the reason I think that we have to look at doing that is until we get to the idea of licensing, we are going to constantly see things like, the Ministry of Jackassery, which is what I referred to them on my podcast, in Canada, outlawing the Flipper Zero, right? As long as we don't build out a standard of what things should be, how they should work, whatever, we're going to have automated AI, LLM driven automated pen testing that is not pen testing, right? Do you know the difference between machine learning and AI?
The acronym?
That's a good guess.
The marketing?
Nope. Machine learning is written in Python. AI is written in PowerPoint. And
okay.
This is why just recently I started an effort with a group of people to update for 2024 the penetration testing execution standard, PTES.
Nice.
PTES hasn't been updated in years, and that needs to be changed and fixed. We have to go back. Chris Nickerson, Dave Kennedy, John Strand, Ed Scotus, H.D. Moore, myself, we got on stage over and over and over again and talked out against the pen test puppy mills. We talked against the idea of just running an automated scanner and saying it was done. And we proved time and time again that if you put a human at the keyboard, they would get in.
Right.
Whereas the automated tools would fail. The automated tools were not doing a penetration test. And we're very rapidly approaching that same system, but now we're just calling it AI, right? Oh, I've got an AI pen test tool. Really? How is it not Nessus? Right?
Right.
Tell me how it does more. There's a tool that I saw, I can't remember the name of it. Don't remember the name of it. And they had a booth at a conference. It was at GurCon last year. And all of their marketing was around the idea that their tool augmented a pen tester. Like basically the idea was it was a tool the pen tester could use, not a replacement for a pen tester. And I was really impressed with that. And I have no idea if the tool actually did well, right? But I was really impressed with that. And then a week later, I was talking to a company that wanted to resell Secureideas pen tests. And I said, well, what have you been using to pen? Like, what company have you been using to do? And they said that tool. I said, oh, who's the pen tester that's running it? No, we don't have a pen tester. So the marketing of the company tells you it's a tool for a pen tester, and you handed it to an analyst and said, run that, and it'll be fine. God, yeah, that's what we see all the time.
Oh, it's history repeating itself.
Exactly.
A few years ago, it was automation. I went to an interview, and the guy interviewing me said, what's your experience with automation? And I'm like, what's your definition of automation? And so he described it, and I was like, oh, so you mean programming? Oh, well, I've been programming since, fifth grade, whatever. And it's all the same stuff. And AI and machine learning, AI is a language model. Great. Don't ask it to advise you on who to vote for, or what's going on in the world, politics, history, economics. It's going to tell you lies all day long.
Yeah. What was the tool? I want to say it was Claude, but I could be wrong. This is from my memory, and like I said, I turned 51 last month. I think it was Claude. They announced there was a vulnerability found in this tool. It was a pretty complicated vulnerability in the code, right? And this project said, we solved that. Our tool, given that code, found that vulnerability. And they were using it. They weren't claiming, just to be clear, they were not claiming they had discovered the flaw, right? What they were claiming is that their model had matured enough and was competent enough that it was able to find this really, really complicated system, right? Vulnerability, this really complicated vulnerability. I'm looking through my browser history to see if
that's a scary place.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah. It was Claude. Claude was the model, the system, right? And here is the tweet. Fully automated vulnerability research is changing the cybersecurity landscape. Claude 3 Opus is capable of reading source code and identifying complex security vulnerabilities used by APTs, but scaling is still a challenge. And they claim, here is this CVE 2023-0266 is the one. And this guy came back and said, no, your LLM does not find that vulnerability. As a matter of fact, the link you have very clearly misidentifies the vulnerability as something else, right? And the lead guy on the team came back and said, no, it does. And the guy's like, no, it doesn't. And here's why it doesn't. And here's how we can prove it doesn't. And here's, right? And I actually checked. That was done March 8th, right? And I will send the thread here in chat. It's
Got
up
it.
to you whether you want to publish that.
Yeah, I'll post it up.
This guy actually went out and built an entire GitHub repo outlining how Claude does not do what they're claiming it. And if you read the thread, like the guy that runs, I don't know if he's the marketing guy or the head guy in the tool, whatever, right? He shifts how he describes it. Like, whoa, it could find that. No. The internet doesn't forget, right? You said it does find it. Does and could are very, very different things. And this is what we need to do. We need to hold vendors. Look, I welcome it. At Secureideas, if you want to come buy something from us, challenge us, right? Ask us questions. All of our stuff, our pricing is online, our reports are online. We tell you our methodology. We teach our methodology in the classes, right? You think we're doing something wrong? Challenge us. That's what we're here for, right? And
Yep.
I will tell you right now that if any of my people move the goalposts, including myself, I want to hear it, right? If we're answering stuff badly, if we're doing stuff, I want to hear it because I want to fix that. Too many vendors don't want to fix it.
Yeah.
And this thread is hilarious. It really, really is hilarious. It gave me a good giggle for a bit.
Yeah, we posted it up in stream chats on both YouTube and Twitch, so you can go and take a look at that. See what's going on. Yeah, it actually goes further up with this Clinton person here. So, and he's got a blue check mark, so he's legit. So he's got a blue check mark. He's completely legit.
Oh God,
yeah.
No comment. No comment. No, I have lots of comments.
So one thing I think or place that AI might be useful is in some of the tools like maybe your firewalls, right? Where a network engineer can chat and say, hey, Bob's having a problem, getting to this application. There must be some network issue. Find out what that issue is.
I personally find AI to be amazingly useful if you are using it as a way to augment what you're doing.
Right. Exactly.
Right? Like I love going to ChatGPT or Concierge by Mick and saying, hey, here's a data set that I've got. Help me parse it, right? I don't go to the LLM and say, write code for me in a language I don't know to accomplish something I don't understand. That's just asking for failure.
Right.
What I do, because I use a variety of LLMs out there, and what I'll do is, okay, I know Python. I understand the technique I'm trying to do. Help me make my code better. Help me give me this little piece of information. Give me this, right? And it's stuff that I'm comfortable enough understanding it myself that I can identify the errors or the made up stuff. I won't call them hallucinations because I think it's dumb. We're personifying things, anthropomorphizing things. And that just causes us issues because the minute we start thinking that the LLM is hallucinating, then we are crediting it with real intelligence. And then we don't question the results it gives us sufficiently. And then we run into the problems like a number of lawyers have done where they've submitted case references that don't exist because ChatGPT gave it, right?
Yep. Yeah.
That's what I like the LLMs for, is to augment something I already know, something I already understand, something I'm comfortable with that I want to expand, right?
Right. So, hey, Bill, the problem with having it pick your brackets for March Madness is it will constantly think Marshall University is going to win the whole thing. So, it's a problem.
Can I acknowledge the fact I'm not 100% sure what March Madness is, nor what a bracket is?
It's the basketball tournament for college.
Oh, yeah. Where the colleges play against each other. And
the Final Four, yeah.
Okay, yeah. Okay,
it's a sports. It's a sports ball. Thank you, Age. Yes, it's very much a sports ball.
No. I'm not proud of my lack of knowledge of sports. Like sports have never been something that interested me, so I forgot the reference.
Yeah. Well, sorry for the digression. I just thought that was a good comment.
was.
So the one thing about AI that I think would be quite useful, and I've seen this a lot in my career, and I am guilty of it. I'm not a very good writer, and I am a visual person. I think things in pictures, and writing it down is a pain in my ass. And the one thing that I found with ChatGPT is that I could see it being used for things like augmenting, reports that you have from, assessors or, pen testers or something like that, where it's like the assessor may not be a strong writer and needs to get his point across that, hey, this is really bad bug, that kind of thing. And Chat GPT helping with, writing words that would make somebody understand that better.
Yeah, I can see that. I use ChatGPT quite often when I'm writing a blog or an article. I will have it write an outline for me.
Oh yeah, I've done that.
Right?
Yeah.
And then I'll build off of that outline because I'm not going to claim being a good writer, but I very much am stymied by the blank page.
Yeah.
Right. Sit down to write something. If the page is just sitting there blank, that's really hard for me.
Yeah. That's a good idea, the outline piece. At least get something structured.
Yeah.
So that you, the human, can, have a place to start.
Yeah. Yep.
Does
it's
it
also
work?
much easier to review the outline, right? For errors or made up crap rather than, 20 paragraphs of stuff. It's much easier to miss stupid AI remnants in paragraphs than if it was just an outline.
Right. Right.
What I expect to see is somebody taking Nessus output and feeding it into an LLM to generate a pen test report. And right.
Yep. Yeah. I'm not railing against it. It's just like, most technologies like Kubernetes and Docker, I haven't had a real need for it yet. I have started using it for some other side projects that I've got going on to great effect. So I like the descriptions it gives, I like some of the responses it can give me. It's almost like you need to learn how to Google Dork all over again because you have to ask it the right question to get what you want out of it. So it's almost like the new search engine.
Prompt engineering is what they're calling it.
Prompt. Yeah. I'm still learning my prompt engineering, which, eventually I'll get a security certification for that, and then I'll be able to get better jobs and whatever. So last year,
certified in using AI.
There you go. Certified AI user. That's a certified AI user. CAI. Yeah. We'll work on the backronym for that. So I think it was last year. We're gonna have Jay Beal on again. We have him on around Black Hat time because he's got his Kubernetes class, which is amazing, so we're gonna have him on talking about some of that. We were talking before I'd actually recorded the episode with him, and I was like, I was still at my previous job, and I was like, we haven't changed the pen tester engagement model for like 30 years, and I was like, there's nothing new here. One of the things that I was trying to do at Leviathan was I was like, we don't need a 50-page report anymore, because most companies want their bugs in Jira or in their ticket system. You writing that stuff up is not helpful. And it's that's time you could have been testing elsewhere. And it's like, we need an executive summary and we need a list of where the bugs are in the Jira and be done with it. And that would save us a lot of time.
Can I disagree with you that we haven't changed the engagement model in 30 years?
I haven't, of course, to be fair, I haven't been in the consultancy world for about 3 years, but I still see it because I work with consultants.
Right? I'm biased, but I'll tell you that we have changed the model. If you look at Secureideas, we have absolutely changed the model. If you work with us under our professionally evil testing as a service, right? You had to get the professional evil in there, right? PE-TAS. We do exactly what you're describing, right? It is an augmentation of your staff. We embed in your SDLC, we embed in your security team, however they work. We still generate reports. And the problem with not generating reports of some type is there's too many third parties, insurances, regulations, contracts that
Sure.
require a full-blown report, right? So
Right.
most of our customers, even if they go this route, they still have to have that paper at some level, right?
Right. Okay. That's fair.
But we have access to their Jira ticketing system. We open the tickets. We engage with their development teams. We engage with their security teams throughout the cycle, right?
Sure.
Before the test, we're talking about what they're doing, what they're building. Some of our customers, we attend dev stand-ups to hear what they're building next.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah, no, we absolutely build this out so that it becomes part of your process. It's PETAAS.
Oh, it's not pets. It's not
pets. No,
the pets service. Okay.
It's has. And
Peta.
yeah.
There you go.
Yes.
Nice. Very nice. Okay. Okay. Yeah, I guess it really depends on you'll have a more traditional company if they want, all they want you to do is do the tech, I guess it depends on, what you can ask for, and I think a lot of companies forget that they can ask for certain things that, you can always say no to, or
Right.
we don't want a report or this, that kind of thing.
Yeah,
But I get to your point that they need that. But
when we get into a scoping call, right, whether it's an existing customer or a new customer, we try to ask questions like, what's the goal, right? Why are you doing this? What's the purpose? What are you going to use the output for? Let's make the output useful. We have customers in Slack with us, talking to our consultants all the time. We build out relationships with our customers, right? Our mission statement, if you will, is for our customers to have the best pen test experience ever, right? And notice I didn't say the best pen test, because I'm not saying we don't do a good pen test. We do amazing work. But if we do an amazing hack and we generate a great report and we show all this cool stuff, but we haven't actually accomplished the goal the customer had,
right,
that's not a good experience, right?
Yeah.
If the customer doesn't think they got what they needed, doesn't matter how accurate we did, how cool the stuff was, right? So it's best pen test experience ever. And that's what's driven this idea of, how do we generate the report correctly? We've got customers that we dump a custom JSON file to them that has all the stuff that they can import it into whatever system they're using for vulnerability management or what have you. The options are endless, right?
Right. Cool. Yeah.
But you're absolutely right. Way too many pen test vendors are doing the same thing they were doing 20 years ago.
Yeah.
Right? And it's working for them because we haven't patched our systems in 15 years. And right.
Yeah.
I always love, I get questions all the time, through IANs, through customers, through whatever. It's like, what should we do about the post-quantum EDR, MDM, PCI solution? And it's like, you're still running Windows XP, right? Like, you're not even worried about pre-quantum problems, right?
How do we? It's like, how do we prevent the hacks that we don't know about yet? Wait. Stop. Your 2003 server is still on the internet.
Yeah. Well, let's prevent the hacks we do know about, right? It's and let me be very clear. It's InfoSec's fault.
Oh?
It's InfoSec's fault.
Oh?
Totally.
In what way?
Wow. Let's rant. Right? Did you
Oh no, he's going to rant on us for the first time tonight.
Did you see the vulnerability that was announced in the M1, M2, and M3 chips from Apple?
Right.
The side channel attack. And don't get me wrong, cool fucking attack. Really cool fucking attack, right? It's a side channel attack where they're able to steal the RSA encryption key over an hour period of time. Right? And it's really, really neat. And I'm not even going to try to pretend to explain it off the cuff, right? Because it's a glitch in their, is it their prefetch or their
Let me
go
see what
fetch? So it's a fetch functionality.
prefetch.
Right?
Yeah, according to
Prefetch.
Bleeping Computer, it is prefetch.
Yeah. And basically they're able to control some of the data that's being put into the encryption. And by doing that, they're able to grab addresses and leak the addresses as a side channel. And using the addresses they're leaking over an hour period of time, they can steal an encryption key. That's really fucking cool. Okay. That is the stuff of infosec hacker dreams, right? Like, how did you do it? Oh man, I did this and then this and then this, and then I blinked a light in Morse code, and that light reflected off the side of the fucking Empire State Building, and I had a telescope pointed at it from Newark, and I was able to see this data, right? That's cool shit.
Right.
But again, that Mac that you're stealing stuff from hasn't been patched in 2 years. The
Right.
user has a password of spring 2024, right? They have downloaded so much malware and privacy invading software that the least of their worries is the encryption key on that system, right?
Right.
But if you
Oh,
look
yeah.
online right now, that go fetch issue is what everybody's talking about because it's fucking cool, right?
Right. Yep.
But we're not educating people. What we're doing is we're sitting in our ivory tower. We're better than you. We know more than you. Those stupid fucking developers, those stupid fucking users, right? How many times have you heard those phrases, right?
Oh yeah.
Do you know
Oh, yeah.
why users click shit?
Because their
It's
job.
serious. Do you know why users click stuff?
It's their job.
We build systems that require them to click stuff.
Right.
I have made this joke on stage every single time I have talked about user awareness. How many people take user awareness training every year? Right? How
Yeah.
many of you started by getting an email with a link in it that says you got to take your user awareness training?
Right.
Click the fucking link.
And our
And you
training
go to
is
the
in
training.
Flash.
Right. I've told you people, don't buy KnowBe4. You don't need to buy KnowBe4. Right? One, we can talk about all the problems there, whatever. But here's what you should do. Stand up a fucking web server. Put a web page in the document root. The web page should just have one sentence, right? And then send a link to that web page to every one of your users. And when they click it, they'll get that web page that says, you shouldn't have fucking done that. That's as effective training. And oh, by the way, that training that I just gave you right there, you've both been security awareness trained, meets the vast majority of requirements for awareness training.
Oh, sure. Yeah.
And that'd be cheap. It would be as effective as the awareness training we do now. What
Right.
we need to do is not worry about Joe Schmo clicking links, because we built all the systems to make Joe Schmo click these links. What you need to do is to go to Susie Developer and get Susie the developer to understand that her system needs to be built in a way that it does not only not require, but not encourage emailed links to users. Period. It's going to take a while, right? But if we teach developers, if we teach the designers, if we teach the UX people, if we teach the business analysts that they should be building systems to not require links emailed to somebody. I should never get an email from my bank that says, we've got a message for you. Click below to get to it.
Yeah.
What the message
Here's an
say is-
attached, here's a HTML file attachment. You know, click here and put in your password.
Yes.
That's the
That's what they
worst.
do.
And it says secure email.
Yeah, but it said secure email, so it must be okay.
Yeah,
It's got the lock. It's got the lock.
Why
Right.
did you block my secure email? It's secure. It says right
all
there.
you have to do is send an email that says, hey, there's a message. Go to your account. Because every
Yeah.
single person nowadays has a phone like this that they can get to their bank, or a computer they can get to a bank, or a library they can get to a bank. They log in at the site they know is right because it was given to them when they signed up, right? When they
Yeah.
went to the branch and opened the account.
Yep.
And the first thing they should be presented with is the alert they just got told about. Don't make them search for it. Don't make them look for it. If you want to send me a message, I had to do a Zelle transfer. I had to send money to somebody via Zelle, right? I got an email that said the transfer was approved, whatever it was going. I went to my bank account, and right there on the front screen was a message. Hey, your Zelle transfer has been approved, blah, blah, blah. It'll be delivered at this time. That's the way to do it. I didn't have to click a link. I didn't have to go anywhere. I went to my bank account, and the first thing I was presented with was a success message saying, hey, we sent you an alert. Here's what it's about. Right?
Yeah.
But we don't build systems that way. We don't teach developers to build systems that way. We allow them to continue to build stupid stuff that requires at some level an email sent to somebody with a link. And that's why people click links.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
The problem is
Right.
security people aren't system designers. And
So the problem is security people think they're better than
no,
everyone.
I mean, these HTML, I mean, the worst offender is Cisco. And I thought Cisco made firewalls, which is a security device?
Yeah, I won't say Cisco is the worst offender because I've seen pretty bad ones. I won't
Yeah.
also say that Cisco is not in the top 10 of offenders.
Speaking of top 10, okay.
Right? Yeah, speaking of the top 10.
yep.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Sorry.
Yeah, there's a lot wrong. You're not wrong about the ivory tower stuff. You know, the post quantum encryption stuff that everybody was talking about. It's like, oh, Apple's got that now. Everybody should be using that. And I'm like, 90% of my messages are, honey, go get me some milk at the store. And I'm like, in 20 years, if people are worried about, hey honey, you know, if they're decrypting, hey honey, go grab some milk at the store with my post quantum encryption. I'm like, post quantum encryption, if you need that for your threat model, you're not using a phone. You're going to get on a plane. You're going to mail a letter or something like that. You're going to be meeting somebody face to face if you're going to need to use post quantum encryption to be able to do anything. And you're sure as hell not going to use a phone to do anything.
No. Well, and let's be clear, we you know, we can talk all about this stuff, but you know, we still have large portions of the population that don't have a smartphone.
Yeah.
We have large portions of the population that don't have access to a regular computer. Right?
Yep.
They have to go to somewhere like a library and log in and do something. Right?
Yeah. Yeah. Or they don't have internet and they're going to McDonald's or something like that or you know, using the cafe Wi-Fi. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I think that's why a lot of security people still, you know, don't quite understand why we still have SMS 2FA, but it's, you know, if you have a phone that takes and gets SMS, that's the only way you're going to be able to do anything.
Security people, SMS 2FA is insecure. Yes, it is.
Right.
But it's more secure than not having 2FA.
Right.
And when you've got you know, an underprivileged person who's going to a library that every time they walk away from that computer, it resets to the factory default, right? To protect the next person coming on. They're going to have to do two-factor authentication every single time they try to log in. And removing that, look, I got no problem with saying to a company, you shouldn't only offer SMS two-factor. Absolutely. 100% agree with that.
Right.
But we should not be encouraging companies to turn off SMS two-factor authentication, except in very specific cases where we know we can control what the users have. Right? If you know that every user that will ever use your system has a smartphone and you have the ability to enforce that they use some better form of two-factor authentication, great. Turn off SMS. If you're serving the public today, you have to turn on SMS two-factor. You have to have it.
Yeah. And my thing with, and I'm trying to get Adam Shostak and my friend Dr. Cowan on to talk about threat modeling. And we talked with our friend Jared about it as well. We're having to start thinking about impact. A lot of stuff that I find when these come up, it's like, you know, yes, SIM swapping is a thing, but they're not able to do it at scale. You know, if you're SIM swapping, you're going to SIM swap an individual person or maybe an individual account. If the only way that they would turn off something like SMS 2FA for cloning or what have you, is if they could figure out how to do it at scale where they could get massive amounts of phone families or something like that. But right now, SIM swapping is a per account kind of thing.
Yeah, I disagree though. I think even if they figure out a way to do it at scale, if you are a public system that is dealing with people, you can't turn off SMS two-factor until we fix the accessibility of other versions.
Right.
Right.
It's the most customer friendly.
Look, as the old straight white guy in the room, I will tell you the privilege I have, right? We have to recognize that the privilege we have is not the same as everybody else.
Right.
The fact that I don't even think about it if I want to go buy a new phone. If I need a new laptop, whatever, right? I'll go do that. And I'm not saying I just spend money. I don't. What I'm saying is, I'm in the position in my life today where I don't have to worry about that as much.
Right. You don't have to walk around with a cracked screen for, until there's a cheaper, sale or something like that. Yeah.
Exactly. And so as long as I'm building systems for people like me, then that's an easy decision to make. But we're not building systems for people like me. And this is why InfoSec has to get their head out of their ass and leave the ivory tower and understand what they're protecting. And every single person who is claiming that SMS two-factor authentication needs to be turned off for everybody is somebody you should not trust anything coming out of their mouth because they don't know. And again, I'm qualifying that. If they're claiming that SMS needs to be turned off for everybody, they don't know what they're talking about. And there are really, really smart people in InfoSec that are making that claim today.
Yep. I posted a tweet that you and Mick Douglas were talking about the Defender's Dilemma back in mid-February, when we had planned this thing.
Yes, the Defender's Dilemma. The attacker just needs to get it right once, and the defender has to get it right every single time. Bullshit. And I'll admit, I used to say that all the time.
Yep.
It's not true.
Yep.
It's not
true. I posted it up. I think I picked this up when I was looking up topics, but you said in the tweet, I'm literally doing presentations this year ranting about how bad an idea this defenders need to catch everything there is. I'm wanting to be cognizant of time, and we've already talked for 90 minutes. So the last thing I want to ask you is maybe that tweet kind of indicative of what we're going to see at B-Side San Diego this next week for your keynote?
Is that what you're going to see at B-Side San Diego? I still have to write my talk at B-Side San Diego. I probably shouldn't admit that. And
my bad.
No, why is that your bad?
I figured you'd be like, well, I could have worked on it this evening, but I got to do this thing for this
stupid stream or some crap like that. I'm gonna B-Side San Diego. I'm gonna try to talk about the hacker's perspective and why we should be fixing stuff and things like that. I think it's gonna be a fun talk. I am gonna absolutely talk about the idea that the defender does not have to get it right every single time. And as a matter of fact, we need to make sure that the defender is not given the idea that they're supposed to get it right every single time, because you're setting people up for failure then. Right. If you said to a doctor that is a surgeon that is dealing with gunshot wounds and trauma and all this kind of stuff, if you said to them that no matter what, you had to save every single patient, period. They come into hospital, you save them, right? Doctor can't do that. I'm sorry. Doctor can't do that. That's why they triage. That's why if you ever go to a mass casualty event training program, right? They teach them how to triage people. Look, I hate to say it, but that dude's going to die. There is no way for that dude to survive. His head is missing. Whatever, right?
Right.
Okay, that's a bad example. But they treat, and this is really rough and really hard to do. And I mean hard as in emotionally and mentally and everything else like that. And they have to be able to look at somebody and say, okay, I've got 50 patients that are coming in here. 30 of them are pretty likely to survive given some level of treatment.
Right.
10 of them are likely to survive if we give them a lot of treatment. And 10 of them we're going to waste treatment on because they're going to die. And I made up those numbers, right?
Right.
And they have to triage that. And what they do is they take that 10 that if they give them really good treatment, they're probably going to survive. And they put them over there and they start working on it. And they dedicate resources on it. And the 30 that are going to survive, more than likely, even with very little treatment, okay, you have a nurse or whatever go around. And I'm not demeaning nurses. The nurses do way more than doctors. But you treat them with the resources you've got. But your resources are really focused on the 10 that can survive with really good stuff. And I'm probably screwing, and Rich Mogul, if he ever listens to this, because he's an EMT and does amazing things to help save people, is probably going to tell you how badly I've mangled triage's description. But let's go with it, right? And then those 10 people that just had no chance, I hate to say it, but we didn't waste resources on them, right?
Right.
And I don't mean waste as in they're not worth those resources. I mean waste as in, if we took the resources from the 10 that could survive and gave them to the 10 that couldn't, we've now lost 20 people, right? And the same thing goes with defenders. If you said to a defender, stop every single attack, they can't. You know it as well as I. Every single person on this call has been an attacker at some point, with permission, I'm assuming, right?
Yes.
We know, look, I'm not bragging and telling you I'm the world's best hacker, right? I'm not Gregory Evans, for old school, Twitter noise, right? But I'm telling you right now that given the right scope, given the right time frame, given the effort, I'm going to get in your network. Why? Because you're going to miss something.
Right.
And so if I tell you you have to stop every single thing I do, you're never going to pass that. You're never going to succeed. And that's why we get things like, how many times have you seen that marketing? We stop 4 billion attacks a day. Dude, Nmap is not an attack. Right? Like, come on.
Yep.
That's where that comes from, right?
And then once you're in, you have to be right every time. Otherwise, the defender can catch you. And he only has to be right once.
Right. He's got to catch the right time.
Yep.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Yep. Oh man. I'm glad I'm going to get to see you next weekend, sir.
I'm looking forward to seeing you next weekend, man.
Yeah. So Bill asked, I think I broached this with you before the show, but we don't have any Waffle Houses out here, so you can't have
You mentioned Pancake Sunday, I think is what you said.
Yeah, there's a couple of joints near SDSU. There's one down on Mission Circle, but there's no Waffle Houses. But
we looked at Waffle Houses. There's not a Waffle House, and I believe the team decided that pancake breakfast was not quite the same, and so I think they decided we're not doing it.
Well, but you could have asked Pancake Breakfast if they'd smother and cover it, and it could be the same.
Chunked and hashed or whatever, right?
Yeah, exactly.
No,
exactly.
I don't know because I'm embarrassed to say this. I'm at the point now at the company that I don't necessarily make those decisions. And
what? You're the CEO.
I know, man. I'm the CEO. I'm in charge of everything. No, CEO just means I'm responsible for everything. Yeah. But yeah, I believe they made the decision that it would not work out because Waffle House was not nearby. So
yeah, we don't have any Waffle Houses. We have IHOP, we have like Denny's, but it's not the same.
Have you been to a Waffle House? It's not the same as IHOP.
It's been a minute. I lived in Missouri, so we did have them, but we didn't hardly go at all. So yeah.
Oh man, I'm sorry you've been deprived. Waffle House is one of the best places in the world.
Oh, I've had it before. I've maybe gone less than 10 times in my life. So
I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry, man.
Maybe I'll go to GurCon and we'll do a Waffle House or something.
We'll make sure next time we're somewhere there's a Waffle House, I will make sure we take you.
Yeah,
man,
cool.
Waffle House is good.
So Kevin, last question: how long does the member at large thing with OWASP go? Is it a yearly thing?
2 years.
2 years.
My term is for 2 years, and then I'll decide if I'm running again. Ask me in a year whether I'm running again.
Okay. And you've
got this moment. My plan is to run again for the next term.
And the goals that you've made are realistic and measurable and attainable and all that?
I believe they are.
Okay.
We'll see.
All right.
We'll see.
Well, I look forward to it. I may actually get a lifetime membership after this. I didn't know that there was such thing. So yeah, it might be a good thing to do. I don't know if you can use me. I can't program for shit, but I can tell people what to do and set deadlines and stuff.
Programming is not the only thing to do to contribute. Heck, just giving bug reports helps, right? Helping reproduce things, giving us test cases, things like that. There's lots and lots of efforts necessary that do not require programming.
Okay. So very cool.
Yeah.
All right.
Awesome, man. Hey, I
Right
really
on.
appreciate you guys having me on here. I look forward to seeing you in San Diego.
Okay, Kevin. Yeah.
And
how would people find you though, real quick, on Twitter?
oh
or
yeah,
whatever?
I'm on Twitter at Secureideas. You can email me, Kevin@secureideas.com. You could spam me on LinkedIn because that seems to be all that people do on LinkedIn. Or just come on out to Secureideas.com and reach out.
Fantastic. Okay. Fantastic. Mr. Betcher, people find you on Twitter, Betcher Pwned, correct?
Surely.
Awesome. You can find us online at Brian Break. We don't have a Twitter officially for BreakSec anymore. I'll be at B-Side San Diego running security. So I'll get to meet Kevin. And if you're coming to B-Side San Diego, you'll get to meet Kevin as well. So
Awesome.
That's awesome. All right. Well, that was it for Bringing Down Security this week and this stream. And I'll see you on Tuesday. Otherwise, everyone out there, take care of yourselves because as we're fond of saying here, you're the only you have. All right. We'll talk to you soon. Bye, y'all.
Bye-bye.